Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to our video series on how to build your own red team cyber range lab. If this is your first time, I will say welcome. If you are returning viewer, I will say welcome back. Today's video is going to be about setting up a Jenkins lab for future attack scenario, to walk through how, if you're performing a pen test or a red team and you come across a Jenkins, and especially if it's misconfigured, how can you abuse a misconfigured Jenkins for a remote code execution. All right, now the reason why we have Jenkins for this setup is because it's one of the most popularly known continuous integration tools. And when we say CI, basically it's one of those tools which are used by developers for build and code, source code management. And for most of the time, when what I have come across, and most I would say pen testers and red teamers have come across, is this platform is usually misconfigured in several ways, whether it's authentication based misconfiguration, which we'll talk about, or weak password usage, and maybe relaxed security configuration as well. So, and the bad thing about Jenkins is if you are able to use it as an initial foothold, for most part you may end up getting a system level privilege on a system, because the Jenkins application runs with system, which is bad by itself, in a sense, right? So we are going to install the Jenkins as a web application on one of our boxes, and then we'll set up a configuration which typically you see on a corporate network, and how that can be abused for initial foothold or as part of our pen test or red team engagement. So let's start with a setup. So installing Jenkins is very simple. You can go to their website and download the most recent version of Jenkins, and then once you have downloaded, you can extract it, right click and extract it to whichever location you want. In this case, I'm going to extract it within the download folder, and it's going to pop up. But there is one prerequisite, and the only one is it's supposed to have JDK installed. So we can go ahead, double click and install JDK on our box before we go ahead and install the Jenkins application. So installing JDK is very straightforward. Once you double click, it's going to take you through step by step, and then just click next and have it installed. All right, so with our Java SE development kit installed, we can close it, and now we can go ahead and try to install our Jenkins. All right, so we'll click run and go through next, and then just hit install. All right, so once the installation is completed, you can click on finish, and then it is going to take us through some initial post installation process. So once you click on finish, it will bring you to this page, and it's going to tell you that we need to get the admin password, which was auto-generated. So let's copy that and go to here and then paste it in. You can copy that and then paste it in here, and then hit continue. Alright, so once we enter the password, it will take us to this page. So when you get to this point, you are presented with two options. You can either do the suggested ones, or we can go and then select things on our own. So let's just click on the customized one, so we can go through and then look at what options are available and what else we want to add to ours. I'm going to add the Active Directory to it. and just click install. So that is going to install all these plugins. Depending on your internet speed, this might take some time, so I'm going to pause this video and then I'll get back once the installation is completed. Alright, so once the plugins are all installed, the next page will be this page, which is going to ask you to create your first admin user. So you can choose whatever username you want. Alright, here we can make some changes to the URL if we don't like the preferred one, or the default is usually 8080 is a port number, and then we can click on this, and then that's it. Our Jenkins is ready to be run. Alright, so once you authenticate to Jenkins, this is how it's going to look like. Right, let us just log out first, and then this is how it's going to look like for the authentication page. So let's log in again as the admin. As you can see, when we first when we went to the login page, we had to log in as a user, right? So that means it requires authentication. Now, Jenkins, once it's installed, of course, there is they provide advisory that you're supposed to protect and secure Jenkins. Well, that is not what usually happens on real production environment, as I have noticed on several pen tests and engagement and red teaming. And one of the ways that you can actually control your Jenkins is the access control. Basically it's driven by two access based coming from Jenkins website, which is the security RAM and authorization strategy. Authorization strategy is basically determines who has access to what, right? And then the security RAM is which determines users and the password, and then what group they can also belong to, right? So let us pick how a production environment one of the many ways it may misconfigure the Jenkins platform and the security implications for us as red teamers, and how we can abuse that. So to access the Jenkins configuration page and also make some access control changes, we can go to manage Jenkins, and these are the options we are presented with, especially if during the installation process you have forgotten any specific plugins and you want to install that later. You can actually do all these things from here. For the purpose of this demo, we are going to go to the security section and then go to configure global security, and then we'll click on that. And then once we click on it, as I was telling you, it is going to take us to the access control section, which is basically the security RAM is here. Again, it's going to determine the username and password, and what authentication process that we're going to use for authenticating users, and also whether it's going to be an Active Directory, which is a possibility, or we can just use a Jenkins own database, which in this case is going to be what we'll be using just to for the purpose of this demo. All right, and then we can click on, and then we can keep going down. So we move from the authentication, which is the RAM, and now we are coming down to the authorization, which is where we'll determine who has access to what. Now this is where if it's not configured properly, a user can actually abuse it. In this case, we have anyone can do anything. This is actually a bad option, but this is actually has this is what we actually come across a lot on engagement, especially in internal. And the reason why this is chosen most of the time is sometimes you just want to give users access to the Jenkins platform, internal users, without considering that they need access to everything or they need limited access. And if you look at the help here, it says anyone can do anything. So that means anonymous user can actually log in. And if they log in, then what can they do? Most developers may not think about the implications, thinking that yes, they only have access to the GUI, but I will demonstrate how that can actually be abused for remote code execution. So for the benefit of this lab, we are going to assume that the admin for this particular web application or Jenkins just gave authorization for anonymous authentication or login, right? So we'll just click apply and save, and then that will take us back. So now let's try and then log out. And if we log out, as you can see, we are actually in. Like, we don't need to authenticate, we don't need to log in anymore, because even if you open up, let's go to the workstation 01 and try to access. Yeah, so on the WKS01, if we decide to access that Jenkins, it takes us right to the dashboard without requiring us to log in. As you can see, there is no, we are not logging, there's no log out here, so we are not logged in. So we, as an anonymous user, it gives us access directly to the dashboard. So now let me demo how that can be a serious factor, or for us as a red teamer or a pen tester. If you get access to a dashboard like this, what can you do if there's a possibility for you to be able to build something, right? Because this is what these tools do, is you're able to use them to build jobs and stuff like that, schedule jobs. So we can actually go to we can create a job and then just type in test. So I actually remember my last one, and then we can just click on freestyle project and then click OK, and it will bring us to this this page. So what we are interested in is, if you get down here to the build option and you click down, these are options that we can actually run Windows operating system commands on this remote machine remotely. And that is the seriousness of having providing an anonymous access to your Jenkins, and possibly having anyone to be able to build something, or schedule a job. So if we select execute Windows batch command, for instance, and then we just type in any Windows command, for instance, if we do IP config, all right, and then just apply, this is going to run it remotely on the underlying Web 02 operating system. So we can click save, and now we can build now, and that is going to build our job for us. So you see this right here, and if we click on it, we are going to look for the console, and look, we were able to run this anonymously. All right, and that gave us the IP address and other information about this remote box. Now this was just a demo to showcase how this can be abused. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the setup for the Jenkins. I would say, if you like this video, please share with other people, and also leave a comment, and talk to you later. Look out for more video. Bye bye.